So guys, we'll get started straight away, first thing Monday morning. So I'll just say, this exercise is probably where the difficulty starts to ramp up a bit for the rest of the unit. And to begin with, what we're going to do is we're going to break this exercise down basically into 3 skills. So I'll be teaching this exercise, 3C, over 3 stages today. So the first one here, I've got these examples, they're not in your book. Instead, we're just going to watch. Okay, you don't need to copy them down because you'll have an opportunity to capture this skill in a moment. You're just going to watch and then you'll have an opportunity to repeat it yourself. So that's what we're going to do first. So we're talking about domain and range. Now what these 2 words mean, domain you can think of as like the space. This domain is the space that we're in, right? And so in terms of mathematics, what domain means is it's the space that the x values occupy. Okay, so domain is about x values, and then the range, the range is about the y values. Okay, the range is the space that the y values occupy. All right, so when we're making a statement about the domain and range, we're always looking at the graph and we're going for the x values. For x, we go, what's the point furthest to the left? Okay, what's the x value on this line that is furthest to the left? So the lowest x value is occurring here. This is the coordinate on the line that's furthest to the left, and the x value that it corresponds with is -3. Now to begin with, all right, we'll always just set it up like this, okay? -3 is less than x is less than, and then we go, what's the highest value of x? Now we go, what's the point furthest to the right? So this is the coordinate that's furthest to the right, and it has an x value of +2. All right, there's one more step to do. You'll notice that some of the dots are coloured in and some of them are not coloured in. Okay, now what this means mathematically is that the graph goes right up to 2, but it doesn't touch at 2. A hollow dot means it doesn't touch at that point, which means we're not including 2, it means it's less than 2. All right, but here it does touch at -3, which means it is less than or equal to. All right, so if it's touching, we include the line underneath. If it's a hollow, we don't. This is the domain of our first graph here. We're going to repeat the same for the range, okay? Now, range is y. So we'll set it up like that to begin with. And we go, what's the lowest y value? Remember, this is not the point furthest to the left. This is where the confusion comes in. It's not the point furthest to the left. We're saying, what's the point closest to the ground, the furthest down? All right? This is the highest point. So the lowest point is going to be here. And the y value is, that should say -5, sorry. The y value is -5. Okay, the lowest y value, -5. And then the highest y value, the highest that the function goes, is up here. And the y value is 2. Which ones do we include? We're including that one. So we'll put the equal sign underneath it. We're not including this one as it's not coloured in. Okay. Now, one way to check if we've done them both right is that the lower number will always be on the left, the higher number will always be on the right. So -3 goes through to 2, and we can see on the Cartesian plane it exists from -3 to 2. All right, same for y, it goes from -5 all the way up to y is +2. Okay, on to the next one. So we just set up a statement like this to begin with, less than x less than. And we go, what's the point furthest to the left? Our x value is, now this should be negative as well, -1. Sorry, I haven't done a good job writing them down today. -1 is less than x, and our point furthest to the right is x is +2. All right, for y, we go, what's the point closest to the ground? Y is -3. Less than y. And the point closest to the roof, y is +2. Now we need to include the coordinates. So the bottom coordinate is not included, the top coordinate is. So we'll underline that. And then the same with x, the point furthest to the right is included. Okay, so the question we're asking ourselves, what's furthest to the left, what's furthest to the right? That's for X. What's closest to the ground, what's closest to the roof? That's for Y. Okay, this one's going to be a same skill, but there's a little trick in it. All right, so we'll set it up for X first. So for X, we go, what's the point furthest to the left? What coordinate is furthest to the left? Over here. All right, that's the leftmost coordinate. We have X is -2, and it's included. All right, it's colored in. What's the point furthest to the right? We have X is +2. All right, that's the point furthest to the right on this graph, and it's included. So our domain is from -2 to +2. How about our range? Okay, so for our range, we're going, what's the lowest point, the point closest to the ground? And both of these are equally close to the ground. We'll say the lowest Y value is -3, and it is included. What's the highest Y value? +4, okay? That's here. So it won't always be at the extremes of the line. Sometimes we need to look at the graph and determine, well, actually the highest point on this line is Y is +4. And sometimes it's a bit ambiguous as to whether it's included or not. So if it's ambiguous, you just assume that we include that point, that it touches at that point. So you can see Y, the possible Y values go from -3 to 4. The possible X values go from -2 to +2. All right, so we have an exercise that you're going to start with straight away. So in 3C, if you flick past the examples, you'll see worksheet 1. We're going to do that first because this skill we've basically got 3 levels to this skill. This is the first step, and we need to make sure we've mastered that. So worksheet 1, you can complete it on the worksheet there.